Do you think that your parents, have an audience today, a readership?
My mother does. I don't know who knows about my father anymore because the communication to the larger world was limited. And I hope they get to read his works. There are not too many of them, but they're wonderful expressions. Sometimes you go into a museum and you see these artists who depict industry, and he does that in words. And I don't know, I mean, some of the works that were done on battlefields, there have been some very fine writers about that, but my father should be added to that list of what about his work. It's like the Evo right now has an exhibit on Jews in space, and the astronaut who went up there is going to be speaking actually to an audience at the Evo about his experience bringing a Torah up in space and a dreidel and some of the other symbols of what it means to be Jewish. And for my father and industry, the Jewish piece of what is added to his experience, it's not simply interacting with industry, but it's a Jew interacting with industry. And does it add another dimension? I don't know. I'd have to kind of read in depth myself, which I will do when I have more time, about that. But even for a connection to the humanness of the experience that we can identify with. So even now, maybe you go into a bottle factory. I've been, for example, at Anheuser-Busch, and there's one person monitoring hundreds and hundreds of bottles going by, getting filled. It's a robotic experience. You wonder in the manufacture of garments what has become more automated, but what still requires the human interface. And in that experience, what kind of thing happens when you bring the dimension of creation with you? In other words, you're going into that environment as a skilled technician, but you're also going into that environment as a writer. And how does that get integrated into the total experience of what it means to be communicating about something that is industrial? And I think that the experience that my father has shown me from reading this, beyond the first few pages, which I had in previous times, but now I read much more into depth, I'm saying to myself, oh. And even my own experience with Dvoda Hanavia, I started reading it and I say to myself, is he presenting it in a secular way, in a poetic way? Is he taking license with the Torah? What is he doing? And I decided I'll go back to the original first and then read it to see what he brought to that experience that would make it logical for people to want to read what this play that he had based on those characters. And then you think about it, Dvoda Hanavia, she's the only female prophet, semi-prophet, well, what good enough to achieve memorialization from the Torah. And so to me, the whole thing is very interesting, particularly since he brought that all to his battlefield experience. Ich bin du, mit der Tanach in mir. He's standing there, but he's thinking about something much larger and something much more profound than the crazy battle stuff that can go on by anyone who, whether they think Tanakh or not. But what dimension would he have added to that experience that says to somebody, hey, this battlefield had some larger than life connections to it that need to be explored simply because we know how important the Torah is in the lives of many of us Jews. Made into a play, what does that consciousness make us aware of further? When you read some of the books by the various authors, including Shalom Aleichem, who was a very popular culture kind of writer, when they add the dimensions, it's even when you read Yossel Pesi Dem Chazans, and he's going to America and he's commenting about the pillows, and there's pillows everywhere. Why are they doing with pillows? And he's trying to adjust to the society. What is it about the fact that he's Yossel Pesi Dem Chazans as opposed just to a kid who came off the boat? Does that add to that experience? I don't know. But now I'll go back and check because I'm thinking about things a little differently after reading my father's works from a different viewpoint.